Hey guys, I want to drop another video on you here and get to our daily devotional for today. I have been working on some other things this morning, getting the new Instagram and YouTube accounts for the church and for myself set up. So, regardless of where you're watching us today, go ahead hit the like button, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, or on YouTube. If you're on YouTube and you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That'll help us get the word out, and that helps it to know hey, this is a new channel, people are interested in it, and we want people to begin watching and start subscribing to this. And so anyways, help us out with that if you could. So our devotional for the day is going to continue on a path that we started last week, and it's a revelation that I feel like God gave me about how God deals out judgment. Everybody talks about the judgment of God and talks about how this isolation, quarantine, and COVID-19 is a judgment from God trying to do different things. And I have my opinions about whether this is part of the tribulation or not, which is really more applicable for what's going to be doing on our next devotional series. But just want to talk to you for a minute about where we are in our daily devotionals about Egypt. And so we've talked about how the first plague of Egypt that God told Moses to do was to strike the water and turn it to blood. And we believe that that represents the economy and the luxury of Egypt, because it was the water that gave them the source for their crops and basically for their entire system, for the basis of their system. Obviously, there were tradesmen in Egypt as well, but it was the crop trade that gave them most of their finances. So when you take away the money, the water takes away a large portion of your ability to have an economy. The next thing that God sent on them was the plague of lice, flies, and frogs. If you have ever had lice, God bless you. We have dealt with this as a family, and it is not fun at all. And it's miserable. And then you add flies and frogs to that too. Misty hates flies. And then, nobody really cares about frogs, but when they're everywhere, like you can't even walk because you're stepping on frogs, nobody would like that as well. And so basically, once God couldn't get their attention due to the striking of the water, he turned their attention to their everyday life and the irritants that these things brought about it. It can be pretty irritating when you're having to deal with lice, flies, and frogs, I can promise you, especially on the lice side. So that was God's way of kind of taking away or striking their different things. And then the last thing that we talked about was the blight or the disease. Some biologists say that it was what we would call blue tongue today, but he hit the livestock, and what the livestock represented was their ability to farm and also their food. And so you can just imagine that if you're needing to pull something really heavy, it would be a lot easier to do it with an oxen than it would be, or a tractor, than it would be for you strapping it to your back and trying to pull it across the field. That would be hard and that would be heavy. So God was trying to get their ability to work back in line, trying to let them know, hey, the reason you have a job, the reason you are capable of having employment is because of me. And he was trying to get their attention that way, but Pharaoh still wouldn't listen. He still wouldn't let the people go and worship God the way that they were requesting. So we get this now into our next category, was the boils. If you get into Exodus chapter number 9, the people started developing boils all over their body. And I don't know if you have ever had an abscess or you have ever had a boil on your body, but it is not pleasant. It hurts. It is more than just an irritation. It is painful. He's like, well, a boil is just a big pimple. No, I promise you, it's much worse than a big pimple. If you look on my forehead right now, you'll see a big pimple, and this is nothing compared to the pain that is associated with a boil. I once had a boil on me in a very sensitive area that I sit on all the time, and it was not pleasant. And this is what God put on the Egyptians. Again, he did not put this on the people of Israel. This was just something to get the Egyptians' attention, for them to realize, hey, all of these gods that you worship, they may be real in the supernatural realm, but they're not me. There is only one God. I'm Him. There's a phrase that one of my mentors uses that is still applicable here. God has an attitude. He thinks He's God. And guess what? He is. So He's trying to get their attention, and they're still not paying attention to Him. So He's like, well, I can't get you through your economy. You won't listen to me when I give you an irritant. Now I've taken away your ability to work. You still won't listen to me. Now I might as well, the only thing you've left me with is your health. And you say, well, these things are starting to sound kind of familiar. Well, there's a reason God had me do this series now. I personally believe God is trying to get America's attention and turn their hearts and their lives back to Him. COVID, isolation, quarantine, all of this stuff, I truly believe is God removing the hedge of protection around the United States of America the way that it has had for so many years. And He is trying to get our attention, folks. He is trying to let us know there is a God. He is it. And so, not only just in the United States, I also want to tell you, if you're struggling personally, there is a pattern here in Scripture that God uses. You can follow this all the way from the beginnings here in Exodus, all the way through the rest of the Old Testament, even into the New Testament, and even until today. If you go back and you look at some of the judgments that God's hand out, He uses this same pattern. He deals with your economy and your luxury. He deals with that won't work. He's not just going to crack the whip. He's going to make things uncomfortable. If that doesn't work, then he's going to get with your ability to what you have put your faith in. For most of us, that's money. Then if that isn't going to work, then your health is probably coming next. Guys, the point of this is turn your attention back to God. Turn your focus back to what God is wanting you to do. And guys, I wished I could say this is the end of it, but there's actually 4 more. Because the people still didn't listen. Save yourself some headache. Save yourself some problems. People, get on your knees. Get on your face. Pray. Talk to God. He really isn't that big of a taskmaster. People want to say that God's just a bully with a Bible up there wanting to hit you with it every chance He gets. That's not the God we serve at all. He's actually very loving and very gracious and very merciful. But at some point, He's going to be God. And so, anyways, hope you have a great day. You say, that's kind of a weird way to leave it. Well, sometimes the Bible is just hard, guys. Sometimes we learn lessons that are just not fun. The United States, I believe, is learning one right now that is just not fun. But it is necessary. And without heartache, it's hard for us to learn some things. There are some people that can learn things through other people's experience. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. Usually I have to learn it through my own experience. So as we're going through this learning process, let's turn our focus on God. Let's allow Him to become a bigger part of our lives than He maybe ever has before. So we love you guys. We thank you guys. If you've got any prayer requests, then please send them in to us. Let us know what you need prayer for, and we'll do everything we can to lift those up to heaven. We love you guys. We thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.